Now I will demonstrate how we fill in information into the Geoarchaeology resource model. Now I am aware that not all users of the database and not all archaeologists are specialists in geology, geomorphology or earth science. Therefore we've tried to keep the structure and the terminology as similar as possible to the heritage place resource model, so it's familiar to you and makes it simple to fill in. There is one point I'd like to raise before going further. When it comes to actually recording the evidence, we tend to break the geoarchaeological evidence up into two broad categories: sediments and geomorphology. Sediments refers to the type of material you find on the Earth's surface, so for example, sand, mud, or gravel. Geomorphology refers to the shape of features on the Earth's surface or buried within it. For example, landforms such as rivers, river channels, ridges, or dunes. Sometimes the evidence from a particular site focuses on one of these categories or includes both. So I will show you separate examples of how to fill in these two bits of evidence separately. But the first part is very similar to filling out the heritage place resource model. So once you have this screen open, you simply click on Create Resource to get started. After you click Create Resource, you'll see the same setup as you would for Heritage Place, with a list of cards that you have to fill in down the left-hand side, and the main panel where you enter data. Before proceeding, I'd just like to show which example data I'll be using. So these are the beach ridges I showed you earlier, and we'll simply be entering the data about these into the database. Okay, so the first thing you start with, as with the Heritage Place, is your assessment summary. You add the assessment investigator yourself usually. So simply enter your name. You can either choose from the drop-down list if you're already in there, create a new person or organization if you're not in there. Choose your role type from the list of drop-down terms, and you choose the assessment activity type. Some of these may be more applicable to geoarchaeology than others. Some are applicable to both geoarchaeology and archaeology as well. So for example, we're looking at beach ridges in Yemen from a Google Earth image, so we can do aerial photograph interpretation. Enter the date on which you're accessing the activity, and you can also add a link if you need to an information resource. Let's say there was an academic paper which gave additional information about those beach ridges, then you could enter it here, but this is optional. Once you have done this, simply click Add. After completing the assessment summary, we move on to the resource summary, and this is almost the same, almost identical to the Heritage Place version. Simply enter the type in the name of your resource and indicate whether this is an alternative reference, designation, or toponym. And then once you've entered the information, remember to click Add to make sure it's saved. Designation here indicates whether a site has been designated for protection. This is more common for archaeological sites than geoarchaeological sites or geological sites, but sometimes they may be protected as well. For example, under the UNESCO World Heritage List. If you needed to enter this information, you can enter it here simply by adding dates and choosing from the drop-down menu. You have the facility here, if you like, to add any additional information in the form of free text. Remember to choose from the drop-down menu first, and then simply type the information into the box. Again, remember to click Add to make sure the information is saved. After filling in the general description, make sure you scroll down to the end of the page, because here you'll see the process indicator or evidence of category. This is the key difference in the geoarchaeological resource summary compared to the heritage place resource summary. This is a compulsory field, so you must fill it in as indicated by the little asterisk. So the aim of this field is to summarize in very, very simple and general terms the significance of the geoarchaeological evidence. What does it mean, and what does it tell us, and what relevance does it have to archaeology? This field is aimed at heritage managers and archaeologists who are not geological or geomorphological specialists, and to give them an indication in very simple terms of what the evidence you are recording means. So the first thing to do is select from the first drop down a simple interpretation. So with my beach ridges in Yemen, the example we're using, I can see that they give a very good indication that the coastline has advanced. There's been coastal accretion. I add my certainty. I'm going to use a high certainty for this, probable, and then click add. You can add multiple terms here. So in this example here, there is also a possibility that the progradation of those ridges was caused by falling sea level. So if I scroll down the list, I can choose sea level fall. I add a certainty value. In this case, I'm not 100% certain about whether that sea level fall took place, so I'm going to use a possible. And I click add. And as you go through the list, you will also see there are some categories directly relevant to archaeology. For example, preservation of organic remains, low potential for archaeological preservation, and high potential for archaeological preservation. So all these things give us useful information in very simple terms to archaeologists and heritage managers.